But generally the devotee takes these difficulties that Krishna is trying to accelerate my progress. What's an apparent difficulty is actually Krishna's mercy. Now, Bharat's situation is a little different. The situation is a little different because he was on the stage of Brahma, in which normally, as Prabhupada says in the first canto, you recognize the naked form of Maya, and therefore you don't fall down. In fact, Prabhupada starts his purport by saying devotees generally do not fall down, especially devotees of this caliber, Bhadasodhana. Devotees at that platform, generally they don't fall down. Now, Bharat became a little attached to a deer. And it's natural. I mean, any of us, if we saw some animal in distress, would we help it? Of course. Of course. Was it here? Yes. No, it was at Govardhan. So after I finished my puja, I saw there was a little beetle in the house on his back. So I picked him up with a marigold flower. He was really happy to be on the marigold flower. And I put him outside. Do you all do things like that? That's natural for us anyway. When I was at university, one of the instances that really showed me the difference between devotees and non-devotees, some of the students were giving a presentation at the front of the classroom, and one of the women said, "Oh, there's a spider!" And she took her heels and then she said, "Not anymore." And I was sometimes you forget how wonderful the devotees are. You know, if you never hang out with non-devotees. I thought no devotee would ever do something like that. Right? And so it's very natural. He saw this pregnant deer scared by a lion. And he saw the deer had a miscarriage. The baby deer was there. The mother deer died. So there was this prematurely born baby deer with no mother. And it's natural that one would want to take care. But he started to notice that he was getting attached. He started to notice he was getting attached. And Prabhupada explains in the 5th canto that the reason Bharat Maharaj fell down is when he started noticing this attachment, he didn't take shelter of his spiritual master. He didn't go to his spiritual master and say, "Oh, I got a problem here. What do I do?" And therefore his attachment increased and increased and increased. And again, Krishna, out of his kindness, saw that the easiest way to help Bharat, the fastest, easiest way, would be to give him a deer body. Now it's interesting that in that deer body, not only did he remember his previous life, but he would hang around the hermitages of sages. And said that he immediately gave up his mother. Bharat is mentioned as being one who renounced his mother, and that can apply to the brother of Ram, who renounced Kaikeyi, or to Bharat, who renounced his deer mother. He immediately gave up the company of the other deer. He went to the hermitages of sages. He lived on dry leaves. He listened to Krishna Katha to try to give up that body as quickly as possible. And then, of course, he took birth in a family of very elevated brahmanas. And in that life, he was very, very careful. He thought, I'm not going to make any mistake again. And sometimes we even see in our Krishna consciousness movement that we have some children who appear to be not mentally there. And some of them may have been such personalities who don't want to get involved in the material world. There was one little girl who left her body in Vrindavan when Prabhupada was here. She was 4 years old, and she had appeared to be, again, not quite right mentally. And Prabhupada said she was never part of this world. So sometimes the devotees apparently take that kind of position. But you see how serious they became. In Jujumna, the body of the elephant became very, very serious. I'm just going to surrender to the Lord. Chitraketu, his rich asura, also became very, very serious. He wasn't just into flying around with a bunch of ladies doing sankirtan. He's like, I want to just meditate on the Lord. And Bharat also became very, very serious. So that so-called impediment, that so-called fall down, was really the Lord working with them to increase that icha, to increase that desire. Because the whole purpose of our Abhyasa Yoga, the whole purpose of our sadhana bhakti, is to get to the point where our desire for Krishna is so strong that we have no other desire. That it burns to the roots any other desires that we have. Because if we want Krishna and, then we will get Krishna and. And most likely many of us in this room, at least according to the Goswami, many of us in this room have probably practiced Krishna consciousness before. I once gave a class in Vrindavan to about 300 devotees, and it was a class about previous lives, and I asked, how many of you think that there's a good chance that you practice Krishna consciousness in the past lives? And 90% of the devotees raised their hand. And so we might even have been thinking of Krishna. In fact, I know one devotee who remembers leaving her previous body, and not just thinking of Krishna, but actually seeing Krishna's pastimes take place in her heart. But at the same time, she was thinking, I really want to marry this one devotee. And she was thinking, I really want to serve Krishna with this devotee. And so, this life she's a devotee, and she also married that devotee. She thought, this life it has to be just Krishna, not Krishna and. Krishna and money, Krishna and marrying this person, Krishna and this, Krishna and that, Krishna and that, then you do Krishna and. So Krishna puts us in a position where one's desire becomes very, very, very intense. So the devotee sees the difficulties in their life. Prabhupada, if you go through the stories of these three people, Chitraketu, Bharat, Indajuna, in each of these cases, Prabhupada quotes Tateinu Kampan, the verse of Lord Brahma, that the devotee sees that whatever difficulties there are, and this is true whether the difficulties are internal or external, whatever difficulties were put in, whatever appears to be impediments. Is there anyone here who has no impediments? No. Where is there no impediments? At Singalok Vrindavan, there's no impediment. So where do these impediments come from? Why do these impediments exist? Why do we have these impediments? Our own desires, our own activities, we created these impediments. Or Krishna has put us in a situation that appears to be an impediment, to increase our desire. And somehow or other to increase our desire. I really, really want Krishna. Really, really want Krishna. So that is how one uses one's impediments. Let me use this impediment. What did the non-devotees try to do? Here it said that the devotees step over the heads of their enemies. Who are our enemies?
Lust, anger,
greed, envy, illusion. The devotees will step over the heads of their enemies. Why? With whose power? Whose power? Ma. With the power of Radharani, with the power of Lakshmi Devi. By her grace, by the grace of our very kind mother, we will pass over, we will step on the heads of our enemies. Of course, Prabhupada's giving here in the purport an external example of a court case against the programmers. But sometimes the devotees lose against those kind of enemies, don't they? Abhimanyu was given.